Hello everyone, this is Tanvijan from LoginRadius.
In this video, I'm going to show you how can you use unit testing in real applications and why should everyone use it. Let's create a story to understand one of the uses of unit testing, although there are countless points in favor of that. Imagine you have an app created and tested till now. Obviously, the business logic of your app is divided into multiple chunks of code in form of functions. Now you are planning to extend this app functionalities without disturbing your existing code base, maybe adding some more features or functionalities. For that, you might include other resources to work on your app. And your whole app is ready finally. Here are chances that your existing code may got tampered or broken mistakenly as multiple resources are working now on this project. Now, will you go for testing this large app overall with the existing functionalities tested already? Well, this could be turned into endless, full of efforts work and is still prone to errors, which obviously doesn't suit to a graded developer. The solution is unit test, provided by Apple, and most of the great apps use it. Unit test let you validate small and independent piece of logic code of your app without having to run your big complete app. Keep in mind some points like your test code is just as important as your application code. It's not kind of waste of time, and 100% code coverage should not be possible and should not be your target while you are writing unit tests. These test your functions to see if they produce the correct output from a set of given inputs. It is like code written like cases or conditions or some functionalities with set of inputs and fixed output to come for getting past. To get started, we are going to create a blank iOS project. For that, we'll launch the Xcode and then we'll click upon the create a new Xcode project. And here now we will choose the single view applications. Let's name this project as unit tests demo and the language as Swift. You may choose Objective-C as well. And here you have to ensure that unit test include should be checked so that unit test target will also be added into your project. You might skip UI testing for now, but this time I'm not tempering these options, default options. I'm just taking both the targets in this project. So let's create the project. As you have checked the unit test checkbox, this does all of the work of setting up unit tests and unit test target for you. For existing project also you may include the unit test target if it's not included in the project by clicking upon the file menu, and from the file you can click upon next, new, and then target instead of the file as we do. And here then you can select the target under this test section. With the unit test target, Xcode set up a template test for you just so you can get a sense of how to do it yourself. So let's go into this class and see. You may notice in this class it imports XC-test framework. There is this extra testable import declaration also. This is Apple's way of helping you importing your apps all the files into the unit test target so you can run your tests. And to create a unit test class, you will be subclassing a thing called XC-test case class and overriding the setup and tear down methods. You can use the setup method to set up initial state for each test method you are going to define or create, and the tear down method to clean up all the state of these methods. Then you can see the diamonds here. You can click it to run your test, and when you click, it could succeed if these methods will got succeed, and thus the test is passed of yours. Otherwise, if it get failed, if this method get failed, your test get failed, and there should be some error then which you have to resolve. Also, you have option to run all these test methods by clicking upon the product menu and then click upon the test. This test will get passed because this is doing nothing for now. And so let's set a new real world example by ourselves. We can create unit test class for each one for each classes of the project, and each unit test class will include some methods to validate logic or methods of each controller. Now let's suppose there is a function in our view controller. um, let's define a function handle string length, and this is accepting the string and returning a string also. Now this function, it is checking for the string length and returning a string according to the length of the string argument. So let's switch, and here we can check for the string's length, that means count of the characters of the string, and if the case is 0, like a string is empty, then we are returning here empty, and otherwise it is returning something. In this project there could be multiple classes and multiple functions, and for each class we can make a unit test class which is moreover containing the functions to validate each function of this particular class. So for this example, let's modify this class which is already created or already given in the test target to us. The name of the unit test class should be relevant to the class which it is testing to. Like this test class, if it is testing this view controller, then it should be like view controller test, and inside that we can create to validate each independent code of this class. Here we can test the cases which this function is defining, or we can further test other functions or other independent logic code which is defining here, and this time it is defining multiple cases, so we can validate each case in this unit test class. For empty case, we can create a method like test empty string, and for other test non-empty string. In the test methods, we can write an assertion code or assertion statement, and meaning of it is if the assertion passes, your test will pass, and if the assertion fails, then your test will fail. And thus, if your test will get passed or succeeded, then there isn't any issue in your code written. And if the assertion fails, it implies that your code is having some problem or some error. Which is not the it's not the error, it's the problem, it's the bug only, which you cannot find in the compile time or the runtime, because these kind of issues are not called as error, but this is logic wise or code wise, or your it is actually impacting badly your business logic, which should not be happening. So let's test the empty string case here in this class as ext assert equal. Here it is the statement which is asserting, which is throwing an error exception if these two statements or expressions are not equal to each other. So here we can call the method of this controller, view controller. But before than that, we have to initialize or instantiate this class. So let's create a variable here that we, as it is not going to be modified further, so we can declare it with the let, and then we can define it as this. Now we can use the functions of this class by this variable created, like handle. Here I have defined this statement which will assert if these two expressions are not equal to each other, which means we are calling this method and passing the blank empty string here, and it should return the empty string as we have defined here in this very function also in this case. So here these tests will actually validate the functions or the code in return in these classes. We are simply defining here what should be happened or what should be, and if you tamper with the code of this project or the classes or the functions here, then it will get to know by running the tests here. Similarly, we'll define this another test method also, in which we'll say we'll pass the argument here Tanvi, and it should not be empty, it should return out something. We know this is expecting, and if code is not equal to this, or your logic or your code is tampered or changed because of some mistake, and it is not returning this time now the same things, then there's some issue which should be get resolved. Now I can see the code here in the class which is going to be validated. So here you can see it is returning for zeroth length as empty, and for another cases it is returning something which is actually right. Let's suppose your some other colleague is also working on this project now, as it has been extended, and it is divided in among multiple new resources on this project. So let's suppose by mistake or by some another perception or perspective, if something has been changed, like for the non-empty string, now it's returning something x, which is wrong according to the tests defined here in this. So what should be happen now? If we'll build this test method here, it has been failed because the code is not now validated according to the test case defined here. It is not the same as the code, so it has been failed, and we have got to know that something has been changed. Now let's see what has been changed. It is saying that something x is not equal to something. So something is here, and something x has been written into the real application or the code. So let's go to the class and make it correct. It should be something for non-empty strings, and for empty strings it should return the empty according to the test cases also. Now it should be passed. So let's run it again by, let's first clean this project, and then click upon this diamond button of this particular test, and yeah, it's succeeded. That means the test has been succeeded, and that means the issue has been resolved. There isn't any issue. So we can similarly test other methods also, and we can test all these methods or all these tests together by clicking upon the product, and under the product we can click upon the test menu. So yeah, that's it for now, and there could be so many examples of this which you can apply in your real world applications once you will start using it. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you have any kind of query or suggestion, please write us in the comment. Thank you.